Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer, food maker, or artisan selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast.
I'm Kat Fields-White.
And I'm Bridget Myers. We're longtime farmers market managers, educators, and consultants. Get ready to catch up on all things farmers market pros with us. During this season of Tent Talk, we're bringing you episodes where we're talking about farming, food making, and managing farmers markets in interesting times. Let's talk about the challenges and the opportunities to survive and thrive in 2025 and beyond.
That's so catchy.
It rhymes.
Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is supported by American Farmland Trust, protecting farm and ranch land to help foster a new generation of farmers. Your membership helps promote healthy food and a better climate for all of us. For more information about all of their programs to keep farmers farming, click the American Farmland Trust logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com. Remember, no farms, no food.
All right, welcome back to Tent Talk, everyone. At a time when unprecedented occurrences have become thoroughly, precedented? You know, the norm.
Let's be unprecedented times, shall we? It's all becoming precedented. It's what it is. It's been a year of feeling subject to whims and winds of change, and many of us have staggered a little bit, but we're not down and out. In fact, we're ready to reclaim pivot. Remember when we hated that word?
Yeah.
As the fifth P in our basic requirements for farmers market success.
I've grown to love that word, actually.
Actually, me too. You know,
Yeah.
I got so sick of it
Yes.
during the whole pandemic time.
Mm-hmm.
We've had so much conversation about the pandemic lately.
Yes.
It's like I think we've finally emerged from the complete trauma to kind of looking back and being able to take, we've gotten past the survive part and now we're sort of analyzing and going, wow, can you believe that?
Yes,
that
reflecting.
happened?
We're not
Yeah.
like pretending like it didn't happen because
Right.
we've tried to like black it all out of our memories. We're more like, okay, let's discuss this because it is something that happened. What were the lessons that we learned? What were some things that happened that we can reflect on? And there's just been a little more conversation about it
Yeah.
lately, I feel like, than the previous couple of years where we were just like, oh my God, like get back to normal, whatever that means,
Right.
and just forget this ever happened. So it's been
Yeah,
interesting.
it has been
talks.
interesting.
Yep,
But one of those, one thing that keeps coming up in those conversations is that we did, in fact, pivot.
We did.
We did an amazing job.
We pivoted every week,
We
every
did.
day of every week.
We did. And we managed to keep farmers markets essential and everybody stayed alive. And actually, what I'm hearing from people now when we're talking about those times and what happened and how we got through it and all that, it keeps coming up that there was a bump actually in farmers market sales then for many crazy reasons. And a lot of it stuck.
Yep.
And so, a lot of people have seen continued good sales based on new customers that they met during the pandemic.
Yes, I think that it's just this lasting effect that's been happening and continues to go on because farmers markets are really thriving. And we have to remind ourselves that's because of a lot of things, of course, but the pandemic really kind of helped a lot of folks recognize how important it is to have a farmer's market close to them and to know where their food is coming from and to know the people that are growing it and making it. And that has really lasted a long time. I mean, plenty of like just normal folks got that realization and they're not going to forget it and they are just going to continue shopping markets.
And now they've tasted real food.
Exactly.
And fresh food.
You can't go back to like a grocery store tomato barf.
For sure.
Yeah. Absolutely not.
But I think you said the other day we should add pivot to our 5 Ps.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. But someone just asked us what our 4 Ps were. And we've said that a lot. And there's lots of podcast episodes about our 4 Ps. And if you've taken Vendor 101, our online learning class for vendors, this is really like a staple of how we kind of ground that for vendors to use. But we also use it, kind of the generalize it in a lot of ways for market management. So what are those 4 Ps?
Product,
Mm-hmm.
and basically what we're using the 4 Ps for when we started, it is part of our Vendor 101 program. And we talk about the 4 things that you absolutely need. And I believe at some point it expanded into 8 or 9 or 10 Ps because there's a lot of P words that work for this whole thing. But the 4 basic ones were product. You obviously have to have a good product.
Mm-hmm.
Presentation or packaging. For food makers, a lot of times it's the packaging, it's the logo, that kind of thing. For farmers, it's the presentation, how you display on your table, what you put together.
Yep.
Personality, because honestly, even though nowadays, if you add it all up, a lot of times the prices at farmers markets are actually better than big box stores. That's not typically why people come to farmers markets. They don't come to save money. They come because they want to know the people that produce their food. So your personality, whether you're sitting in the back of the booth on your phone versus standing up and making eye contact with people and getting to know them, is a huge factor in your sales at farmers markets. And then professionalism, which kind of boiled down to things like being on time for the market, having your tent and tent weights with you, setting up a good-looking booth, treating your fellow vendors and market team with respect and congeniality.
Just all of the things that go along
All
with
those
that.
things.
I know we kind of present this to vendors as kind of a set of 4 words that they should really focus on when they're looking to be successful in the farmers markets. But then also, like, on the back end, I try to explain to them when they're applying to my markets, or I'm just discussing what a market might need, is product also being something that's needed in the market. Is your product something unique? Is it differentiated? Is it going to do well? Are you going to be successful at the market with your product? Your presentation also and packaging also includes, are your labels legal? Are they following all the guidelines that the health department's putting forth? Are they food allergen safe? All those things. So that's packaging as well. And then personality.
And
eye-catching.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. And then personality, of course, I think that's very important to have a great personality that's going to engage with shoppers. You need to be standing up in your booth and not sitting in the back on your phone. But you also need to have the personality that can get along with the market management and your fellow vendors. So that kind of drips into professionalism as well. So these words over the many years that I feel like you and I have been managing markets and teaching Vendor 101, these have really become these like pillars. So many P words.
Pillars. There's another one.
Pillars, price, parking. Of just like what it's like, they just encompass everything about being a successful and thriving part of a farmer's market family and making your business success.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. And we're going to add back in pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So to deal with the changes from today, actually, in terms of things that have not changed or have changed in a good way, Vendor 101 is so busy this year.
Yeah.
We have so many people signing up for the class. They're actually tuning in for the Q&A, which is helpful, I find, if they decide they're going to go forward. And, we always say you can take advantage of Vendor 101 by figuring out that this is a real business and it's a lot of work and maybe it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a good outcome from Vendor 101. But we've got a lot of people that are taking it and going forward. So we're seeing a lot of Vendor 101 students. We're seeing a lot of applications at our own markets. Clearly, farmers markets are still a growing, pun intended, growing movement.
We're harvesting vendors. No, that's
Harvesting success.
Harvesting success. That's
right.
Well, that's really exciting. Yes, I'm feeling like that vibe is still out there. And then again, probably having to do with the pandemic too, folks have stepped out of this like corporate 9-to-5 mindset. That's the career choice for them. And they're really rethinking entrepreneurial enterprises and how they can make that work and following their passion because they know that, time is short. And so they want to do something that they enjoy. So that's probably why we're seeing an uptick in farmers market vendors as well, too, because we just have so many people that are really excited about making a new product and bringing it to market. So that's just really helping kind of markets in general bring in new excited folks. So that's great.
It's been really exciting.
It has been exciting. It's a happy group of new folks coming in. What else is keeping us busy?
Well, obviously, if you have been a regular listener, you noticed that we had a little break. And now we're back. So the Tent Talk schedule has changed up. Mm-hmm. And instead of just grinding it out every week, not grinding it out, we love doing this. Instead of spending more time than you would think possible to produce these every single week, we've changed to more of a season format. So we'll have 4 seasons a year of somewhere between 6 and 8 episodes. And that lets us dig in a little bit deeper and kind of stick to a theme and also do some of the other things that we've kind of expanded into.
Yes.
First and foremost, Farmers Market Forum, which is what I have been working a lot on while we've been stepping back a little bit from Tent Talk. And it did launch, I think, 3-4 weeks ago. It has amped up much faster than expected, beyond my wildest dreams. We have so many subscribers. We have a lot of free subscribers. We have actually a significant amount of paid subscribers. Not a huge total of money overall for the year yet, but given the fact that I've been writing newsletters every week for 17 years, sometimes 3 a week, without anybody ever throwing a single cent at me for doing that. I am pretty excited about the paid subscriptions that we have, along with our free subscriptions, which are, of course, very welcome and part of our big subscriber base from our old newsletter. So if you're getting MailChimp newsletters that are just little teases and telling you to come on over and follow us and subscribe on Substack, please do, because eventually we will be abandoning the old newsletter format and just sticking with the Farmers Market Forum format, which is in Substack. One of the things that made me want to make that change and that I'm really excited about, but we haven't actually seen sort of take off yet, we're still very new at this, is comments. So when you do a newsletter on Substack, you can actually comment on it. Kind of the old days when you'd read an article in the news, not the too old days, because if you were reading an article in the newspaper, you were just stuck. But if you were looking at a newspaper article online, you could make a comment. You wouldn't have to mail a letter to the editor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so Substack format is kind of like that. You can actually comment on our newsletter and then somebody can comment back to you, whether it's me or somebody else that's in our audience, and we can get some conversations going there. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's really helpful too, because it'll be like subject specific to
Right.
whatever you're writing about, and that can kind of stir up questions or feedback or input that our readers have about the subject and get a good conversation going in there.
Exactly. We get so much of that in our private Facebook group, but honestly, don't tell Zuck, but we'd sort of like to creep our way out of Meta at some point. So, maybe this is where we're going with that group too, is that they'll meet us over on Farmers Market Forum. So we'll see what happens. We're really excited about adding on some private podcast episodes, and there may be one or two that kind of come out of this series of Tent Talk. We may have some kind of additional add-on bonus episodes that land in the private section of the Farmers Market Forum Substack, and some Ask Me Anything kind of calls that you and I might do so that we can set up Zooms for our subscribers over there and have them tune in and chit-chat about what's up.
I mean, so helpful, and just really, it's always been kind of a information exchange and like wealth of information, our whole Farmers Market Pros and the podcasts and the newsletters and everything. It's nice to finally, I think because we took a break from recording Tent Talk all the time, did a little pause there, you were able to really launch the Substack, which you've been talking about doing for years.
For years and years, yeah. So we're coming up on 7 years of Tent Talk episodes.
Weekly episodes for 7 years.
So I got to tell y'all, I don't feel bad about taking a break. You got plenty to listen to. Go back and listen to ones that you've listened to before. I'm betting you've missed a couple. Go back and listen to those. There's a big archive kind of library there. But what I've been talking about all along, even just from shortly after we launched Tent Talk, was a membership type of program where we can take our community and put them all in one place and provide information and provide a place to communicate with one another and maybe do some webinars and give folks a chance to talk to each other. And the private Facebook group has achieved some of that, and Tent Talk achieved some, but I really feel like this platform is going to give us a nice way to do that. Some of the folks that I work with a lot, Sarah Delaman and at Good Food CFO and some other people, have also come into Substack just lately. So may I say great minds think alike. We're all kind of seeing that platform gives us a way to offer a lot to our communities.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's kind of the next evolution of community online gathering spaces and bringing people that are all in the same industry or have the same, wants and needs and looking for the same information, just all in one spot. And again, like you said, kind of, I think our Farmers Market Pros community on Facebook is really wonderful, and it's such a great relevant space right now. But again, we don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Right.
We don't want to be super tied to that. There are a fair amount of people that are not on social media, so we want to create a space where everyone can get tied together, whether you're on social media or not, and kind of dial in industry specific things. And I think Substack is a great way to do that. And then also remember, if you're signing up for a subscription, you're paying us for our valuable knowledge that we've taken many, many years to learn and take the time to put it into digestible content, to answer specific questions and all of those things. So we kind of work for you in that way. And I think it's okay to ask to get paid for a little bit of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not a terrible thing. So, come subscribe. Whether it's for free, that's fine.
Yeah,
if that's what your
also free.
situation
Yeah.
is, that's great. We're putting out a newsletter every week that goes to everybody. There are some extras if you pay a little bit to subscribe, and not much, honestly. $97 a year, $11 a month. You're spending that on lattes, folks. So yeah, we're not asking for a lot, but yeah, it's helpful. It does help us.
It's kind of like a continuing education
Yeah.
like byline in your business expense, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I subscribe to some Substacks where I'm learning small business management or like finance stuff for my business, and I'm just considering that a continuing education cost for
for
my
sure.
personal business. So
Yeah, good
Yep.
investment.
Mhm.
What else is happening? Intense. Our early bird tickets are almost sold out. We have not increased the price for registration this year, even though, as I'm sure you know, in your business, everything has gone up. But we're keeping the price the same. However, we're not doing as many discounts this year as we have in the past. So there's a limited number of early bird tickets. Once they're sold out, or September 15th, whichever comes first, those will be gone. And they're moving along. So if you want to save a little bit of money, it's $100 off. Jump on there now and register for the 10th annual Intense Conference. The 10th Intense. Say that 3 times fast.
10th and 10th.
10th and
Oh, gosh,
10th. No, I can't do it.
Can't even say it once.
So save the date, March 1st through 4th, 2026. We'll be back at the Catamaran. So get registered for that.
People are really excited about that. I will say, I chat with lots of our fellow market managers, folks that I have met at the conference and folks that I have never met, but just happen to have come across in different areas or kind of chat online. And they are just so excited. And I think the 10th anniversary is just really getting people excited. Everyone likes an anniversary. And also last year was so wonderful, and just getting back to the grind and having changes come up in farmers markets with funding and vendors and all those things that we're going to talk about. I think it's nice for people to have something to look forward to. So really, really, if you can come, please come. We'd love to see you. It's such a great experience that just can't be replicated, and it only happens once a year. So
That's right.
It's coming up in March. You have lots of months to squirrel away funds to get a ticket.
That's right.
If you can make that work, we would love to see you.
I think both Ticket Tailor and the Catamaran actually have, there's some catchy name for it. I can't remember what it is, but it has that thing where you can sign up and then you can make payments.
Oh, Karma or something?
Yeah,
Yes.
something like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's tied in with the payment processing people.
Okay.
But anyway, if you sign up now, you could be making a little bit of a payment every month for the next 3 or 4 months and
That makes
and
it
stretch
easier.
it out.
That makes it easier.
And, the Intense RFP has been open for a while, and there's only, like a week left.
I think 1 week left. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to get your proposal in. That deadline is September 15th. We want to hear what you want to share. Or, drop us a line and tell us that you know of an amazing speaker, and we'll make sure and send them the link to the request for proposal. But we're getting some really wonderful proposals in, as always. Very, very excited. But we're always looking for more. There's a really strong explanatory sheet on the request for proposals form that tells you what we want to hear about. We always get some proposals. I want to say a handful. I wish it only was a handful, but there's a lot of professional speakers out there that want to talk to you about things like increasing your medical insurance or random stuff that I don't know why people apply to speak at our conference. They clearly are not reading the instructions, but the instructions are very clear that whatever you want to talk about, it has to have a direct relationship to farmers markets. So that's all you're going to hear about at our conference. No random speakers.
Yeah, like scaling your business online or something. Like
Yeah.
just weird stuff that comes in. It's like, folks, let's read the room, read the information sheet, what
Listen to
website.
TED Talk,
Yeah, listen to TED Talk. We are, and for our attendees, we are very careful to make sure that what you're going to hear is something that's very specific to farmers market industry. That's what we're doing here. This is not a general small business
It's
conference.
not even just a general farming conference.
No.
It's very specific to, we are not going to teach you how to grow. If you come for our farmer and food maker track, we're going to teach you how to sell what you grow. So
This
it's
is the business of farmers markets.
Yep. Very, very specific to farmers markets. So if you have something to share that's in that narrow focus, and you haven't yet submitted a proposal, do it now. Just a little bit of time left. So we would love to hear from you.
People might think that it's weird that we're kind of reminding people, hey, you have a week left, because maybe a week doesn't sound like a lot of time to some people, but you and I get our RFPs in when someone says we have a week to get an RFP in if we want to go speak somewhere. We get it in and we bang it out. We know you guys can too.
And we know,
just get it done.
We know you folks are out there who have hammered in those FMPP grants the night before they're due. We know it.
We know it. Don't worry. You're not going to look bad if you get your RFP in
We get it.
the night before. Listen, don't get us started on when we got our market match applications submitted, because we like a deadline. I work best under pressure. It's
We all
fine.
like a deadline.
I know who I am.
Yep. Anyway, the new track for state and regional leaders is going to be amazing.
Yep.
So if you work for, or you're an executive director for a state farmers market association, if you organize a regional group of managers that meets regularly, if you're thinking that your state would be well served by an association and you don't have one yet and you'd want to hear more about how that works and how to make it successful, you're going to love these sessions. These are amazing. We're really excited about this.
Yep.
The Food Maker and Farmer one-day track is going to be intense, so to speak, this year. We had amazing speakers last year, and everybody was so excited by it. We had speakers that jumped right at us and said they wanted to come back because they were so excited by our audience. So that's going to be a really good track as well.
I'm excited that we are like bringing that back and that it was so well received last year. And we've just heard a lot of feedback since then that people are excited to come back and have something that's for food makers and farmers, the business of being a food maker and a farmer at a farmer's market.
That's right.
Very specifically, because no one else is really talking to them about that stuff. No. And we've always known that. And it's just always been like, how are we going to integrate this into the conference? But it worked out so well last year. And it was nice for like for farmers market managers and vendors to kind of just be in the same, like getting coffee together at the conference
but in different rooms on a lot of the sessions. So we did have to get our minds back around to the fact that there actually are different needs for those folks. So not try and put everybody in the same room all the time. And also, I think, last year was the first time that we had done a one-day track for farmers and food makers because it appears that it's harder for them to get off the farm or out of the kitchen and get to the conference. And so committing to 3 days has been hard. And since we're offering that one-day track, we definitely have some of those folks that stay over with us for the whole time. But we saw a really good turnout from people who could figure out how to come just immerse themselves for a day in topics that are going to help their business.
It was wonderful.
Yep.
Hope you'll come back and bring your friends and folks who didn't make it last year.
That's right.
Sign up.
Request for proposal, by the way, is at conferencerfp.com. Super easy to remember.
Of course it is. Of course you have a very perfectly phrased URL for that.
Right?
Our little domain hoarder over here. Don't worry, Kat's got it. So what else has been happening?
Well, for us locally, we've had a lot going on. You introduced a whole new event.
That's why I needed a break from Tent Talk, because I was busy.
Yep.
I started a new annual event in my market neighborhood because I lost my mind.
It was
I had
fun,
a fever dream about it.
It was fun.
It was actually so fun, which I knew it would turn out fine. But it was really stressful. Just starting a new annual event is stressful.
Sure.
While also running 2 very busy weekly farmers markets on top of that, and just the time of year. But it ended up being such a great event. Everyone had a lot of fun. And I woke up to many, many texts the next morning from everybody in the neighborhood asking me to please, please, please do it at least one more time. Like once a year or possibly once a month all summer. Got some wackadoodle requests to have me do like this huge event.
I bet
multiple
you'd do
times.
that next year.
Oh my gosh. I keep saying, don't ever let me do this again. But you know what,
I suspect
everybody?
that you will.
I'll see you next year for Summer Sarah.
I mean, the cool thing about these holiday events and other types of events that aren't necessarily farmers markets per se, but they use a lot of the same skills and they give a lot of extra opportunity to your staff members and also to your vendors. So not so much the farmers, although we'll see like our nut farmers come in because they have holiday tins of nuts and we see honey that a lot of people buy and jams and that kind of thing for gifts. But some of our packaged food people and some of our crafters that are in the market some of the time, these are great events for them, and it gives them another chance to sell direct to the public.
Yes, and for us who run really large-scale markets with long waiting lists, I know that's not everybody's situation, all farmers market situation, but there are quite a few of us that run really large markets. We have like literally hundreds of vendors on our waiting lists, which is, of course, a great problem to have that people are waiting to get in. But I want to give them an opportunity. So I really started this annual event with the thought in mind that I would bring in a bunch of vendors that are not at my weekly markets and give them an opportunity to be in this neighborhood where they want to be a part of the market. Yes, for an annual event, but they get to participate and experience an event and start building a relationship with me and with my staff and the other vendors. And so I brought in a lot of my vendors from the weekly markets, but then also was able to host a good handful of folks that have been on my wait list for a long time, and they were really grateful for the opportunity while they're waiting to just be a part of an event. So if you're running a bigger market and you're also doing annual events, it's a good time to kind of bring those folks in and give it an opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And, the net income from those things can help subsidize your markets and keep your farmers' rent low.
That was also really helpful too. I know we're going to talk about how to make money without grant funding in a different episode, but really, I've like self-funded my market match program, which is like my EBT double up program, and with sponsors. And sponsorship has been a little touch and go. Like bigger companies are not really spending as highly or as frequently as they once were. So I was trying to think of some other ways that I can bring some additional net income into the business to be able to provide those kind of programs that I've been doing, matching EBT bucks, or like buying new safety equipment, just things that like hard costs that come up during the year that it's nice to get like a little bump in income from an annual event to help cover those costs. So you can make it to the end of the year with your budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was helpful.
We were talking about state and regional groups. Bridget has actually sort of led the charge on organizing a San Diego managers group, which is cool. We're going to talk more about that in an upcoming episode about how those things can be valuable. But I think that's been really fun.
It's been so fun. That's like my favorite thing. And we went, we had a couple meetups and then just had one recently, and everyone's just begging to get together more. So, we've never had a San Diego farmers market manager group before, like organized in any kind of way. And I just did a cold call reach out via email to everybody. And the response has been so great from everybody just saying, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to like talk to other market managers, or, oh, hey, I have a question about this. And when we get together, we just talk about everything under the sun. The first time we met up, well, we'll talk about this more, but I just thought that I was like, oh God, are we going to have stuff to talk about? Because it wasn't really like a meeting. It was just like a hangout. And we just all talked nonstop the whole time. And it was so great. There's a lot of things that we need to talk to each other about. So it was a lot of general farmers market management stuff, but then also like, hey, this inspector is coming to our markets. How do you work with them, or this particular vendor? So it was really specific to like our county, which can be such a great benefit to kind of supplement what we do at Farmers Market Pros or any kind of state agency, but just to kind of bring that down to like this really tight group that's dealing with a lot of the same specific people.
Right.
So it was really helpful. So I'm looking forward to getting to being a little more organized with that, and folks really want to get a collective voice together.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I think we spent way too long feeling like we were in competition with each other when in fact we're in competition with big box folks.
Yeah.
And we should work together.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was a lot of the feedback is like, oh, I didn't want to talk to you. I didn't want you to think I was stealing your vendors or something. And it was just like, oh, it's so irrelevant. Like, we don't think
Let's
like
just work
that.
together.
Yeah. So that's great.
The other thing that's kept us busy lately, not that we're doing it, but just fending off the requests is I feel like we're getting so many requests to open more markets.
So many.
Which is typical. I mean, we've always had that happen, but it just seems like it's really ramped up. And farmers markets are essential.
Farmers markets are cool. Everybody wants one in their neighborhood.
Everybody wants one. The trick, of course, always is, do we have enough farmers?
Yep.
I don't think there's any lack of demand for as many farmers markets as we possibly could have the energy to open, us or anybody else that wants to open a market. The trick is having the farmers. We'll continue our campaign of telling people, if you want to start a market that features local entrepreneurs and food and all that, but you don't have farmers, you don't have a significant amount of farmers, please don't call it a farmers market. Call it a community market, also a good thing to have.
Yes.
But please don't call it a farmers market. And so the trick, of course, is how do we nurture more farmers? How do we generate more farmers? How do we transition farmland from our older guys to newer farmers that are starting out? And part of the challenge for all farmers right now is farm workers and things that are happening in the world that are making it tough to find the labor for the farm. So we're going to talk a little bit now about what's happening in the world outside of our immediate world, what's happening in the world and how that's affecting farmers markets.
Yes, just farmers markets in general.
I mean, so how are we dealing with general world stress and current politics? Which, understanding that anytime you get into politics, you're going to have differences of opinions. Some people think a lot of what's happening is just dandy and that it's time for it.
Yep.
We get it. Unfortunately, there's also a tone right now in the world in general, certainly in our country, of kind of a lot of strife. We need civility in our conversations. I mean, that's my big thing. You can disagree with me all you want. Let's just be civil about it. Let's have intelligent conversations and not yell at each other or be mean to each other.
Yeah, I think making more information online accessible has been really great. All these online communities has been great, but it's also done this thing where we've kind of like created these echo chambers where folks are only hearing opinions and information, I'm putting that in quotes, that reflects what they already thought or what they thought, and it's just being encouraged and amplified in their own little sphere. So they're not able to really understand other points of view. They're not able to see other parts of the world or other people that are being affected by the things that are happening. So it's making it difficult, I think, and to just relate this to farmers markets, like getting different groups of folks together in one space you don't know where those folks are coming from. Which echo chamber are you coming from? And are we going to be able to talk to each other? So yeah, it's been, a little tricky to navigate. And I know it's harder and or easier depending on what part of the country you're in or what kind of particular situations are affecting your area most. But I think when it comes down to it, farm workers affect all of us across the whole country and the world. So that's been a tricky thing to navigate. Like, what are we going to do about that?
Yeah. What are we going to do about that?
Yeah.
I was just on a webinar about dealing with ice at farmers markets.
Yeah.
Actually, as it happened, it was not very farmers market specific. Our job is weird. I don't think attorneys necessarily understand what we do. So, but they had some good points. And it's a question that has come up a lot in our private group and in some of the other groups that I either facilitate or participate in, that we don't quite know what to do about all of this. We're trying to focus on the things that are in our lane. We're also talking with our local officials. We're calling our congresspeople, whether it's about farmers markets or other events in the world that concern us. We're supporting allied organizations' work, so Farmers Market Coalition and NCAT and Young Farmers Coalition and Farmers Union. There's a lot of people doing good work to try and get things to a point where we can manage it. But I mean, if my biggest campaign right now is just trying to remind people that no matter what your opinion is, be nice. We've had a lot of questions in our group and in other places about how are you dealing with the kind of hostile attitudes and the easier jump to outright hostility or anger at markets that we never really used to see.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a little bit during the pandemic.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, maybe a little during the pandemic.
Speaking of things we learned during the pandemic, I learned to just keep my cool and look at people coming in hot as something has happened before they arrived here.
Right.
Something, whether it started in their family when they were a child or it just started in the last couple of weeks because they're watching some kind of certain news station or whatever. They brought something with them to this conversation. Also, are they going to change their mind if I'm screaming at them? Absolutely not. So keeping your cool has been really important. I've been trying to talk to my staff and my vendors about, if something hostile happens at the market, our job is to stay calm, remember that we're here for this purpose. And but it's tough. I mean, it's tough. Everyone has their own political leanings and their own emotions about everything. So it's hard to drag that everywhere you go. Yeah. As we've seen.
Yeah. We're a gathering place. And that means that we're going to have a lot of different folks in one spot that may or may not get along. So let's be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, with all the interesting things that are happening in the world, some of those that would appear to be a problem actually have some silver linings for us. And so I think one of the things that we want to concentrate on is looking for how something that on its surface looks like it might not be great, which part of that could actually affect us in a positive way.
Yep.
So I think we used to do that again during the pandemic. I think we used to talk about silver linings.
Yeah.
And so we're going to continue to do that in this current geopolitical, lively kind of times that we're living in.
Yes. And I think that's a conversation I'm having too with other farmers market managers, my fellow farmers market managers, and just vendors and folks that come out to the market is there's a difference between like toxic positivity that you're ignoring that something bad is happening and a type of like silver lining recognition and pivoting and moving forward. That means that you're just not going to get stuck in this hole where everything's terrible, nothing's good, because even if that's how you feel, what are we doing with that? How are we making a living? I mean, we're in the business of farmers markets. Like, how are we helping farmers? How are we helping our shoppers get access to food if we're just sitting in this black hole? So while I understand the pull to do that, I think we really need to focus on what can we do with what's happening and change it and turn it into this positive thing and work towards that, even if it's going to be hard, even if it's not going to feel great all the time. We kind of like our job is to look at what the good things that are happening among all of this and then move forward and try to make things better.
Yeah.
So what specific examples do we have?
Well, you were talking a little while ago about how many people are getting into entrepreneurship, and that's something that happened during the pandemic. It happened before that back in 2008, 2010, when there was a huge economic downturn and there were tons of layoffs. So overall, downturns in the economy and massive layoffs are terrible and sad for the people experiencing them, and they can actually help farmers markets because there's a realization that happens and people start to understand that self-employment, that they've always dreamed about following their dream, starting a business, and they've always thought, well, I can't do that because it's more secure and it's safer if I have a quote unquote real job. And there's this realization that happens that real jobs are not necessarily entirely secure. If you're working for somebody, that business can go out of business. They can decide they want to reduce staff. They can eliminate departments in federal agencies. There's a lot of folks that have gone through the trauma of becoming jobless very suddenly, recently. That actually lends itself to folks deciding to grasp the opportunity to move forward with the dream they've always had of starting businesses. And that, for us at farmers markets, can be a good thing. There's people that decided to become farmers who always wanted to during the pandemic, during various economic downturns, and that lent us a whole new group of young farmers that are now maturing into farmers markets and things. And I think that's happening again right now.
Agree. I think folks are kind of reevaluating what's important to them. They're reevaluating how they can make a living. And in the end, a lot of that's going to benefit a farmer's market because we're going to get those entrepreneurs. We're going to get those folks that know how to do a lot. I mean, people that are getting laid off from long time government jobs, I mean, they're trained in a lot of different things and they can use a lot of those skills to run a farmer's market business. So that is something that we're seeing and that we think can be a silver lining among the kind of horrible atrocity that is mass layoffs.
Yeah. So hard on people individually.
Yep.
Tariffs might make shopping local stronger. So it was really interesting. A whole bunch of different farmers market managers in different parts of the country and farmers market association EDs and those kind of folks, we all seem to be getting calls at the same time from CNN and from local news and from various people. I think you got a call from somebody locally that wanted to know how the new tariffs would affect us.
Yeah.
Well, not that much.
Yes.
Exactly. And specifically they were asking about farmers, which is what I think really threw us. And it's like, y'all, do you not realize that the farmers at farmers markets grow their food? So we're not importing food that's sold at farmers markets.
Exactly.
So the tariffs are not affecting us directly that much. Now, I will say there are effects. I would say in particular our packaged food vendors, they're seeing increases in packaging that's often, those bottles and jars and bags are often produced offshore. So they're seeing some increases there. I think our farmers are seeing some increases in some cases for inputs. So if we've got farmers that are using certain kinds of fertilizers and things that are coming from elsewhere, I think Canada supplies a lot of that. They're seeing increases in those costs. There are farmers that use rolls of plastic for weed control that's being produced elsewhere. So tariffs are certainly affecting our farmers and vendors, but overall, our sector is probably much more immune to the effects of tariffs than a retail store or somebody that's selling a lot of imported things.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the shoppers could benefit because instead of shipping more of I know we have some farmers that grow a lot of different varieties of fruits and vegetables to sell at the farmers markets, but then a portion of their farm is reserved for like commercial farming where they are shipping out of the country or across the country or whatever. And so they are pivoting a little bit because that is becoming so cumbersome for them with everything, even though it's an export. And they're bringing, more stuff to the farmer's market and kind of adjusting the way that they're farming for that. So I had a great conversation with one of our farmers that's making some adjustments. And he said it was really hard at first to try to figure out what to do. But then he said, you know what, I've been wanting to kind of make these adjustments for a little bit and just kind of never got around to it because the commercial part of my farming was working so well. He goes, but now I have to. And so now I'm doing this thing. And he's like, it's working really great so far. So it's kind of, again, it's like when we transitioned to online payments for our vendors during the pandemic because we'd wanted to for a long time. It felt really hard to do. It was a big transition. And then we did it and it ended up being really great. So some of these things that feel tough and feel because it's forced, it feels hard. And it's like a surprise timing. It feels hard.
Yeah, the timing of things has been really bad. The abruptness of a lot of these changes.
Exactly. I think it kind of goes back to necessity is the mother of invention or whatever the phrase is. And, it's like we're pivoting and it's a transition period. But in the end, we could really come up with these better systems and it could be better for folks that are in this business. So just kind of looking for those things that changes that are being made that will be helpful in the end.
Yep.
Yeah. And to respond to folks that are when news outlets contact me about this stuff, I will do long interviews with local journalists that are really looking for a full story about farmers markets. But my policy is that I do not respond to folks looking for some clickbait answer from me when they come at me. And that reporter that was like, how are tariffs affecting farmers and farmers markets? And it's like, what does that question even mean? Like, I don't feel like you understand what you're even saying. I can tell by talking to you for 2 minutes that you don't even know what a farmer's market is. And you're going to take whatever I say and you're going to extract some random quotes, and it's going to turn into this, I don't even know where this story is going. And you're going to try to do some hot headline. And I opt out of that. I opt out of those conversations. Even though we're speaking up for farmers markets and all that stuff, to me, that's not it. To me, that's like, you're not really looking for my voice in this. You're looking for some clickbait thing, and I'm not going to fuel that fire. So that's my personal.
I like that. I've
point.
actually dealt with that a little bit myself lately. I used to be one that was like, all publicity is good publicity. There's no such thing as, bad exposure. And then I have had my own words twisted. I just had a reporter from HuffPost that said she wanted to talk to me and interview me about the red flags you'd find at farmers markets. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're going in with kind of an assumption of something negative here. No, I'm not going to contribute to that. And we went back and forth. And I finally agreed that I would answer a few questions in writing only. I didn't want to talk to her verbally because I knew she was definitely coming from a certain place and I didn't want to contribute to that. And I was able to actually get a couple of points into that article that mediated what she said, but she swore she wasn't coming at it from a negative place. And sure enough, the headline was, watch for these 5 red flags at farmers markets.
Oh, my God.
There are no red flags at farmers markets. Green flags only.
Green flags only.
Oh, goodness. I think that's a whole episode. We might have to get back into that again.
I think so. What else?
Are there good parts of the Maha movement for farmers markets? I think.
Barf again.
I know, but I think you talked about this like a year ago.
Yeah.
Because you were saying that, I think you were saying that you thought that maybe Democrats in particular, but anyway, people that were trying to do good things for local food were ignoring this movement. And so it was going to be taken advantage of by the bad guys.
Yes.
And sure enough.
And here we are.
And here we are.
It's just the messaging is so like wackadoodle. I like the heart of like whatever Maha. I'm not going to encourage anybody to like go with their phrasing, but just, like
we are all concerned about additives in food.
That's the whole point of farmers markets is
Right.
that we want like less preservatives and more like nutritionally dense fruits and vegetables that are grown near us. Like that, we've already been doing that. And like stop acting like it's a new idea, administration. But I come from a yoga mom background.
Right.
And so back when it wasn't so political, I mean, I got my yoga teacher certification in like 2007, right? So it was still like it was more like a cosmic like cuckoo thing to do even back then. I just did it because I loved it and it felt like a great community, but just teaching yoga and being in that space. And then it's just like transition.
And we've always, we brought you up giving you healthy food. You've brought your kids up eating healthy food.
Exactly. We've always kind of had that orientation and like, I always say my parents were like hippies that took me to the co-op and we like made our own peanut butter out of peanuts in that little machine. Like that's how we kind of grew up, but not in like a aggressive judgmental way.
Right.
Which I feel like now it is like calm down. So yes, I do feel like this whole conversation around making food healthier and, talking about high fructose corn syrup and talking about additives and preservatives and dyes in a like knowledgeable, like scientific way is really helpful. I don't like these like TikTok scientists that are just throwing these words out here.
And do you think maybe people in the administration should cite studies that have actually been done? I mean, call me crazy.
I mean, that is crazy. That's nuts. First of all, that's nuts. But I think from like a farmer's market perspective, it's like, great. How can we kind of like take this movement and take what these folks are saying about, hey, bring it back to like a natural diet and say, hey, over here, like we're doing that over here. Like farmers markets are places where you can come ask questions of the people that are actually making whatever you're about to eat. Like you can ask them questions about how it's made and what the ingredients are. You can buy fruits and vegetables and get eggs and cheese and meat that was made right here in your state. So, I mean, that could be a good benefit. There's good silver lining. Anytime there's any kind of talk about, eating naturally and healthy, being buzzed around, cooking, like how can you cook? How can you bring that back? I think that's helpful. I don't like the judgment and the chatter. Yeah. I mean, my family doesn't eat fast food, but listen, I've been on, in a time in my life where I was a single mother and you betcha we were getting Jack in the Box every night. It's like everyone's just in like a different situation and phase of their lives and economic status, and so the judgment is not necessary. But I think the education is really helpful, and the buzz and the conversation is helpful as long as it's like based in truth and science. I don't know.
Right.
Just a thought. So I think that just the corruption of that movement is not super helpful, but that conversation in general, like how can farmers markets take that and say, oh, hey, like we're doing that over here. You don't have to say like, you're crazy, you're not doing it right. But you can say, oh, you like healthy stuff? Like come over here. This is what we're doing here. And this is why we feel like it's important. This is what you can get here. I don't know. That's what I'm kind of gleaning off of that.
Yeah, good to have
situation.
Good to have it in the public conversation that real food, raw food, less highly processed food is good.
Yep. Period.
So grocery consolidation is likely back in play. There were some big mergers that were stopped, not approved, last fall. And those will probably, if they come back around or if some variation of them comes back around, sounding likely that it will be approved. We're in a different kind of climate now in terms of ignoring antitrust issues and being pro-business, as they put it. So, and I'm all about pro-business. It's just there's different definitions of that. But I think we're going to see more grocery consolidation back on the table, which means we're getting down to, and I don't want to be one of those folks that cites a study that hasn't occurred or that is bad numbers, so I'm not going to quote numbers, but it's gotten down to a very concentrated group of grocers at this point already. And there's a couple more mergers that are kind of simmering that I think we're going to see. Same thing with meat processing. That's gotten to be really, really small and condensed, and a lot of local processors are going away, and that's not good for us. It makes those big grocers and big processors think that they can charge consumers whatever they want and that they can pay farmers whatever they want. It puts farmers in a much disadvantaged negotiating position, so it's a bad thing to see. But the good news on that is because it also affects consumers, because it puts those big box grocers in a place of not having much competition so they can kind of charge what they want. That's yet another reason that consumers will be looking around for other options, and let's help them find their way to the farmer's market.
And that's a great thing.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. So that's good for us. So it's a really good time to be talking about the farmer's market difference.
Agree. Yeah. And I mean, I very much dislike that there's not a way cheaper, way more accessible way for everybody to have access to food, no matter what that is. If it's a grocery store that you need food from at a lower price, that's what we should be providing folks in our country and in our world. But when this happens, I feel like the grocery store prices go up because they have less competition. So folks that have always said, oh, farmers markets are so much more expensive than grocery stores, which has not been true across the board. I think now
it's even more
we're like, hey,
true.
Actually, like not like people are sending in pictures of baskets of tomatoes at the grocery store versus what our farmers are selling them to, because they can sell them for that direct to consumer price. And so the prices are better at the farmer's market. So keeping that conversation kind of top of mind as folks are understandably getting very anxious about the price of groceries right now and will continue to do so, I think is really great for farmers markets to explain, hey, you can still eat healthy, you can still eat fresh, you can get your groceries over here at the farmer's market.
That's right. So, our whole campaign this year about encouraging people to speak up for farmers markets, we have so many people doing a good job of that. Growing Roots in Pennsylvania did an amazing big box versus farmers market graphic on social media that covered pricing and freshness and nutritional density. And yeah, they're doing an amazing job of getting really into specifics of what the prices are at those big box versus what the prices are at the farmer's market. And then, of course, the taste difference. So they're doing live online videos of people doing a blind taste test over big box tomatoes and farmer's market tomatoes, or big box peaches and farmer's market peaches and things. And you can make it really obvious to people. And honestly, we all live in this sort of environment, and we know how much better it tastes, and we know what the kind of pricing you get when you have a relationship with your farmer. But a lot of people don't know. So it's important for us to get out and speak up about that. Market Fresh Nova Scotia does amazing educational posts about what would happen if everybody just took $5 from their grocery budget every week and shopped at a farmer's market and then bought other stuff at a big box. Who cares? But what an increase it would be to farmer security and how many more farmers could start growing. And then we love Larry up at the Old Town Newhall Farmers Market. His photos of signs in a big box store or a warehouse store that say Farmers Market Fresh. No, it's not.
And then zoom into like
Zoom in
grown
to
in chili.
imported
Yep.
Chilean fruit.
Yep.
Do that stuff. You
Yep.
know, call people out. Make comments on social media. Run photos. Mention it in your newsletter. The actual difference. You know, run a couple of numbers. Get out there, whether it's you if you have the bandwidth or if you have an eager intern. Get out and do those price comparisons with your local grocery stores compared to what you're selling at your farmer's market, and tell people that groceries have changed. You know, partly due to tariffs, partly due to changing labor costs, partly due to insurance rates going up and things. They changed in the last 5 years much more than farmers market pricing changed. Our farmers tend to not be gougers, and they have kind of gone with the flow, and heavens knows I think they should be making more money. But I don't think farmers markets are more expensive. I think it's okay that sometimes they are. Some products are higher because you're paying the true cost of food, not a subsidized cost that's coming from tax dollars going into corn. But sorry, corn farmers. But, you know, there's a lot of corn that goes into biofuel and animal food and things, and it is subsidized by the government. So the playing field is a little off. But I think you will find that even at the true cost of food, we are not really more expensive overall than the big box stores now.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of folks are starting to realize that, but we need a lot more people to realize that and just integrate shopping at farmers markets into their weekly continuous routine, because that's how we're going to keep these farmers farming, is if they have that, not just like an influx of people come on one day to come buy some local fruits and veggies, but really understand that regularly purchasing their fruits and veggies at the farmers market and all this other local food is what's going to make this huge difference for also their pocketbook.
Yeah.
Right. For the farmers, but then also personally as a grocery shopper, it's going to be better for me and my family if I'm shopping at a farmer's market. So keeping that conversation going, again, depending on the tone of what your market's putting out there on social, you can do it yourself or the time allotted. Or again, like there's a lot of great groups that are posting things. I mean, we've like just reshared things from Market Fresh and the other people that are doing this work and kind of analyzing costs, like a cost comparison. Just share something from another market and say, you know, this is such a great, look at this comparison that they did. They did a great job explaining it, couldn't have said it better, and get the word out to your shoppers too.
Yeah, let people know.
So lots of silver linings. So even if things seem scary lately, this is definitely not the only time in history that we've thought we've made progress on one issue or another and then been sent back a few steps. It's a big, complicated country with a lot of opinions. We draw the line at mean or hateful ways of expressing those, and at the same time, we want to try to understand the motivations of people in our sphere who look at things differently. What we probably all agree on is that we want to keep farmers farming and keep our communities well-fed and healthy. No farms, no food. No farmers, no farmers markets. Let's keep speaking up and watching for opportunities.
Thanks for listening today, and big thanks to American Farmland Trust for supporting small farmers and ranchers, preserving land for the next generation, fostering awareness of farmers markets nationwide, and for supporting Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, and the annual Intense Conference. For more information about their work, click the American Farmland Trust logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com.
Thanks for listening to Tent Talk today. Please leave us a review on your podcast app or wherever you listen to Tent Talk. Let us and others know how you're enjoying the podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of Tent Talk. Connect with fellow farmers market folks in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community, and follow us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros. Find online education and other resources at farmersmarketpros.com. Tent Talk is brought to you by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Tent Talk is hosted by Kat Fields-White and Bridget Myers and produced by Leandra Hayes, with original music by David Mead. Tune in next week for another great episode.